Yo, what's going on today, guys? Hello, hello. Good evening or good morning, depending on where you are. Today, I want to talk about something that I think is really important that a lot of people don't know, and that is how skill ups work in the game. So skill ups work differently based on what kind of skill up it is. So let's get right into the video. So first of all, let's start with damage skill ups. Now, a lot of people think that damage skill ups are just a multiplication of whatever your total damage output would be. That's not entirely correct. So it is in some cases, but not others. And I'm going to specify that in a little bit. But let's talk about it initially. So the first thing I want to talk about is damage skill ups here. So skill 1 damage skill up, I got 5%, 10%, 10%. So what this means in terms of skill damage is that this will increase your damage by essentially a multiplier of 25 crit damage. Now, the reason it works this way is because in the damage formula, which you can see right here, this damage that you gain from skill ups is added to the crit damage portion of the calculation. Now you're wondering, well, what if I don't crit? Then how does the damage come through? The damage comes through under the pretense of critting anyway, right? When you crit, you get a multiplier to your damage, and this would apply in the same way. If you don't crit, you also get a multiplier to your damage, not quite the same, right? Now, I talked about how it's different for some things. Some things it is directly a multiplication of your damage. So let me show you that right now. So as you can see, this is Wusa. So Wusa skill 2 has a little bit of a unique mechanic to it. The Wusa skill 2 here says, attacks the enemy with the might of the mountains to inflict 15 damage by 15% of your max HP. That means that it's fixed damage based on how much HP you have. But the interesting aspect for this is because it's a fixed damage skill, the damage skill ups are also just directly multiplied into your fixed damage. So if 15% of my max HP, let's say it's 10k damage, right? I know it's a lot, but let's say it's 10k damage. If I have 25% damage from skill ups, that means that I will go from 10k damage to 12.5k damage because I'll be adding that 25%, which is 2.5k of 10. So I know that's a little bit confusing and it's a little bit weird to think about it, but basically the easiest way to think about it is damage skill ups that are not fixed damage skills will be added as crit damage in the calculation, whereas damage that's added for fixed damage skills will be multiplicative of the total amount. Now let's talk about the next mechanic. Next mechanic is recovery and shields. Now the reason I group these two together is because they work in the exact same way. So when we look at the shield here for Wish of Immortality, grants immunity to all allies that lasts for 3 turns and creates a shield equal to 15% of my HP. Now the interesting thing about this, the shield strength is plus 10%, plus 10%. So that means plus 20% shield. So basically, what happens is you take the base amount of the shield, which in this case would be 15% of Wusa's HP, and you multiply it by that 20%, and you add that. So it would end up being whatever Wusa's HP is amount times 1 point, well, not necessarily times 1 point, whatever the shield amount is, which would be the 15%, and then you would multiply it by 1.2, which is 1 for the base and 20% for the skill ups. Now this applies the same for healing skills. So if I look at Praha's skill 3 here, a lot of people will look at this and say, oh, 20% recovery? That means my Praha heals for 70%. But that's not the case, right? Because it's multiplicative of the base, what's going to happen is you're going to take that 20%, multiply it into the 50%, which means you'll get 10% back, and then you add it together. So 10% of 50% is going to be 5. So 20% of 50% is 10, right? Which means that Praha, when fully skilled, is going to heal for 60% instead of the 70% that a lot of people think it is. All right, now let's talk about harmful effect rates. Harmful effect rates are actually additive, which means you add the number to whatever the base is on the skill. When we look at Heigang here, Heigang's skill 2 says attacks all enemies to remove all beneficial effects granted on them and to increase the chance of landing a glancing hit for 2 turns with a 75% chance each. That means both of the effects in the skill have a 75% chance to activate as a harmful effect. Now, when you activate it as a harmful effect, that means that if it applies, then it will go to accuracy resistance check. Now, we can talk about that in a separate video because accuracy and resistance is a bit confusing and a lot of people don't really understand it. And I also could talk about some more intricate detail about breakpoints for accuracy. So when we look at the skill ups here, the harmful effect rate says plus 10%, plus 15%. Now, if we add those together, that's going to be 25% harmful effect rate. So in this case, when your Heigang is fully skilled, he now has a 100% chance to land it as a harmful effect before going to accuracy and resist, which means that Heigang will always activate this skill, but you still have the ability to be. So there's one more type of skill up that I think is really important, and a lot of people get confused with this one as well. Attack bar recovery percentage. So when we look at Bernard, this is the second awakened version of Bernard here. It says increases the attack bar of all allies by 30% and also increases their attack speed for 2 turns. Now the skill ups for this give attack bar recovery plus 5% and plus 10%. This by no means is that Bernard gives you 45% attack bar. That would be ridiculous, super overpowered. What this means is that you'll be taking the base amount of attack bar and adding 15% of the base. So in this case, your attack bar is 30% by base, 15% bonus. A 15% bonus of 30% is 4.5%. So in total here, Bernard is going to be increasing the attack bar of all allies by 34.5%. All right, now I know I said I was going to talk only about harmful effect rates, but there are 2 more things that I wanted to add to this video that I think are pretty relevant, because this video is all about mechanics that people don't understand and people don't know. Now, if you've seen the screen before, this screen is accessed by clicking your profile in the top left corner and then the help tab. From there, you'll be able to go to battle, and then you can check out these different things. So what I want to talk about is crushing hits and glancing hits. So crushing hits here reads, attacks with a crushing hit with a 35% chance if you don't get a critical hit when attacking with an advantageous attribute, which means if you have elements of advantage and you don't crit, you have a 35% chance to get a crushing hit, which improves your damage by 30%. Now, a lot of people don't really know this, but 30% crushing hit damage is actually not bad. If you're hitting for, let's say, 4K, well, suddenly you're hitting for 5.2K, and that's quite a bit more, right? So the next part I want to talk about, glancing hits. Now it reads here, a glancing hit will occur with a 50% chance when you are attacking with a disadvantageous attribute. So if you have element disadvantage, you have a 50% chance to glance. Glancing hits can also occur due to harmful effects. So what that means is glancing debuff can be stacked with glancing hits, which means that if you have glancing debuff and you're trying to attack a unit off element, as in element disadvantage, you'll always glance every single time, right? Now there's a little bit of a nuance here with glancing, where if you glance, the amount of damage you deal will be 30% less, and you will never land a debuff, except for 2 exceptions. Right? The 2 exceptions are stripping buffs and cooldown resets. So if you have skills that strip buffs or have enemy cooldown reset, they don't actually deal with the glancing hit rule, but everything else does. So defense break, continuous damage, slow debuff, all of those things cannot apply when you glance. However, cooldown resets and buff strip can apply when you glance. Don't ask me why. It's a terrible design. It's very inconsistent, but it is what it is, and I'm trying my best to explain that to you guys. Now, there's one more thing to note about glancing hit. This is kind of strange because it's only here under the harmful effect type page, but glancing hits will decrease the damage by 30%. We already knew that from the other page. However, if the attacker has attribute disadvantage, the damage will be decreased additionally by 16%. I believe in this case, the number is additive. So what happens is if you glance on element disadvantage, you will hit for 54% of the damage you were. Now, keep in mind, there is one other factor to this. When you're looking at the numbers, you're like, oh, my Lucian glanced. Why did he only hit for 2K? Normally, he hits for 10K. Your 54% doesn't make sense. And the reason that exists is because your Lucian is not critting, which means you're not getting the crit damage bonus, and you have reduced damage. So you're not critting, so you're hitting for less, and you're also glancing, so you're hitting for even less. And because you have because you're attacking element disadvantage, you have even less damage. So keep that in mind when you're looking at skill ups. Now, videos like this I think are really informative and really great. If you guys have any questions about things in the game that don't make sense to you or you want to know, let me know in the comments below. I'd be happy to make more videos like this. This is kind of like my thing, my style. I love to do these educational videos. So I really, really hope you guys enjoyed this, and make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.